Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And just because Crimsix has retired from the CDL does not mean he can't be in the news fairly often. His new podcast has started, the Crimcast, and he gave some very interesting insight into the teammates he's had in the past, saying that yes, he may have burned some bridges, but actually not as much as people would think, because the likes of TJHaLy and Dashy, especially from the Black Ops 4 OpTic team, have actually apologised to Crimsix for effectively disrespecting his method about work ethic and trying to create a winning culture in a team. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. Crowd wanting the return for Black Ops 3. We of course saw the Advanced Warfare rumours earlier today. This real quick actually from Josh, the classic contract gif is back again. This guy of course was associated with the Paris Legion in previous seasons, looking for a coaching opportunity. The coaching situation is so strange right now. We believe that it's possible that, well, of course Rambo's going to be the OpTic guy, plus one or two coaches, who knows. We've heard rumours that maybe JP Krez, former analyst for New York, could be going there. Sender, we believe, is going to go the other way to New York, of course. Toronto Ultra, they kind of need a head coach as well. Marky B left for LAG, so it's a messy situation right now. Hopefully Josh has landed himself a spot somewhere in the CDL. Just to talk about this as well, the possibility of the 5th event for this season. Of course, we saw the rumours that Major 1, well, I think that's confirmed, it's going to be in Raleigh. Major 2 is in Boston this year. Major 3 is OpTic's Major again. I think the 4th one is New York, and then the 5th one said to be determined. Now, I actually heard a while ago what this was going to be. I forgot about it, and then I managed to find out the document again, and I believe it should be Toronto. Toronto Ultra is the rumour for the 5th event this season. Like, of course, they got one last year as well, and even Odie from London actually said, like, there needs to be more events here in the UK because we have the best fans, which I think is fair enough. But it seems like yet again, despite, the global CDL or whatever, there is probably going to be no London event this season unless miraculously the World Championship is in London, right? And that obviously seems rather unlikely because they just love doing it in Los Angeles. So again, unfortunate. Now, it's a bit interesting really because some would say, okay, yeah, London actually have to submit a form to say we want to host an event. But you're thinking if Odie's saying this, then you'd have thought they might have already done that. It's kind of difficult to say whether the CDL are choosing the cities they want to do them in, or whether, the teams have to kind of apply to host one. And if London haven't, then, well, obviously they can't really do one in London. The CDL can't choose that. So bit of a strange situation, but I thought I'd mention it for you guys regardless. If you're from Toronto, that more than likely the present rumor is, maybe it's not confirmed yet or anything, because I think in the early files or the early kind of submissions or whatever, Toronto Major 5 was in there, and then by the time it came to actually announcing things, the CDL has not locked this in yet. So maybe it's going to change. Hopefully maybe there's going to be one in London, but it seems it's still rather unlikely. And just to follow up on what we said yesterday, because in the European side there's been some concerns about the Activision Blizzard Microsoft kind of acquisition effectively, or Microsoft buying Activision is effectively what's going on there. Now in the US, Federal Trade Commission is also not so happy about this. They've raised significant concerns effectively with regard to antitrust laws, anti-competition laws about this potential transaction, and apparently Google and Sony are coming in saying, yeah, we don't want them to do that. Now of course there's an incentive for Google and Sony to say this and not allow Microsoft to get that additional power in the gaming space, but apparently they're going to have an update, the Federal Trade Commission, at the end of November on whether this will go through. So look, it's going to take longer than maybe we expected, and maybe it will get completely shut down by antitrust. I suppose that remains to be seen. Just to touch on this, because I did mention this yesterday, the fact that there are some, elements of the Warzone map that are pretty much just maps from Call of Duty past, especially Modern Warfare past. This is Airport, of course, in the Warzone map, which is just Terminal. Showdown, of course, was noticed here as well. High Rise, everyone noticed. Dome as well was seen, and also Quarry. So, look, how many of these maps are that viable for competitive? Showdown was a pretty good pub map back in COD 4 that maybe they brought back in more recent games as well. Not really sure about that one. Terminal could certainly work for competitive. High Rise could be a good search and destroy map. It was played back in the day, I think, in CTF as well. But we think it's going to be Control. Not really sure. But High Rise could work. Bit of a messy map. Obviously, really fun pub map and stuff. And potentially also viable for search and destroy. I think it was also played in search back in Advanced Warfare when they brought it back in as Sky Rise. And then Dome, of course. Dome's kind of a classic Call of Duty map layout. Honestly, Strike Zone from Ghost was kind of made on Dome's layout designs. Maybe there's a world in which that could work if they are actually released into the full game as maps, because you'd think that if they're in Warzone, they would just make them for the real game. But, you wouldn't put anything past Infinity Ward and the Modern Warfare 2 developers, unfortunately. Let's talk about this whole Crimsix situation then. Thought this is pretty funny, actually, here from CDL Pal. But look, Crim is retired, but he's now getting his content thing ready to go. He's starting up the Warzone grind very soon when Warzone 2 comes out, but he's also got his own podcast going as well. I think this is probably filmed like 4 or 5 days ago because they're talking about the whole Doug drama when that was going on at one part of it, but also what he talked about is the bridges that people say that he's burned with his teammates. He's talking to Valero here about, okay, the teammates that, well, he played with in the past that don't want to play with him any longer, but he says that actually when he retired, about 80% of his teammates that he's had in the past DM'd him to say, you know, we're going to miss you, really great career, it was great teaming with you during our time. And he was like, look, would they have said that if they really like hated me, right, didn't like me at all, after the drama that of course he had with many of these teammates? He's effectively implying that, you know, while some of these guys didn't necessarily get along with him at the time, after the fact, they look back on their time teaming with Crim and think, yeah, actually, damn, that was really good for, you know, us as individuals, but also it was really good for me as a player to learn more and understand really what it takes to win. And even, well, he goes on to say that Dashy and TJHaLy, especially from the OpTic team, effectively apologized to Crim and said, yes, you were right all along.
Do you think that I've burned so many bridges?
Yeah.
See, this is an issue. This is an issue right now, okay? You know what's funny is if I burnt so many bridges with these players, with these teammates, right? Why did all of them either tweet, DM, or text me? Every single one of my old teammates did.
Okay. What did it say, though?
I long asked. Every single one was like at least a paragraph.
Did anyone say they wanted to team?
No.
Okay.
But the thing is like, I mean, if you truly hate someone, right, and they retire, are you going to be, you know,
but hate,
you're going to be happy?
Hate is a big word, though.
Yeah, that's true. That you know, that's fair.
Yeah.
That hate is a big, strong word.
Yeah.
But every single one reached out, you know, and while they don't want to team with me, like, at least the only thing that I could hope for is that they understood what I was trying to do. They understood me. They understood what my goals were and how to achieve them, all that stuff. I bet you go back and ask these players, these teams, right? Did I help you in the long run? I bet you 80% of them would say yes. 80%. I even got TJHaLy 32 to apologize. You know? Think about that one. And that guy cyberbullied me. That's pretty impressive. Dashy even apologized too. Dashy even told me you were right the whole time. And that was one of the most dysfunctional teams I've ever played with.
So especially with regard to the Dashy situation, this is generally discussing this during the Black Ops 4 season, when of course they teamed for a year on the Black Ops 4 OpTic team, and after that year when everything kicked off going into franchising, this kind of a bombshell article came out that Crim actually wrote himself on the Call of Duty League website, where this quote came out: "Imagine spending an entire year of your career babysitting. That is what Black Ops 4 felt like." And even Scump comes in the replies at Dashy at TJHaLy, because that's what was announced here in the article. So if you guys haven't seen this before, I'll just share for you guys real quick. I don't care about staying quiet anymore. Most people don't know. My team had a lot of personal issues last year. Even fewer people know it was Karma, our coach TP, and myself versus Dashy, Scump, and TJHaLy. The wrong people got too much power. That ego came from fans who only look at numbers and stats. The people who understand the game see through that. That is really what broke us up. The power going to their heads and creating egos. Imagine spending an entire year of your career babysitting. That is what Black Ops 4 felt like. The core of the team had 6 champs. We expected greatness, etc., etc. And effectively a lot of the talking points were around Dashy and TJ and even Scump to a certain degree, maybe not putting in the time, not fully committed to winning, and not committed to giving their absolute all to become the best version of themselves and the best version of the team. And this is where Crim, of course, has gone into quite some drama on most teams he's been on the last several years. He will butt heads with plenty of players. Even this last season we saw it with Neptune, right, where he said that Neptune was kind of bad at XYZ, and Neptune took that kind of to heart. He took that personally, whereas Crim would have said, and Aches would have said, like, look, that's just the way we do things. The tough love approach that Crimsix has had to his teammates is not because he hates them or, dislikes them necessarily. It's more about the fact that he wants them to become as good as they possibly can be. And Crimsix's method in that sense to try and get the best out of players doesn't work with everyone, right? We certainly saw on the Dallas Empire team that worked rather well. He also revealed in the kind of podcast another example where he said that, Huke and Shotzzy and iLLeY came up to him when he was grinding a lot of Warzone when the kind of pandemic was going on and that Modern Warfare season before before they won champs, and Crim was playing pretty terrible, and they were like, look, Crim, you've got to step it up. You've got to stop playing Warzone, get on your grind again. That's what we need you to do because you're playing bad right now. And Crimsix said, you know what, you're right. Like, let me get focused here, and then went on to actually play great Call of Duty and got the World Championship weekend MVP by the end of that season. And he's given a similar approach to other players. We saw, of course, last season the Hydra Neptune drama, but as I say, the previous season with Huke, right, on the Dallas Empire without Clayster in Cold War, where Crim was kind of again giving his tough low approach to Huke, and Huke maybe didn't quite take it on board the right way, and there was some drama between even Guerrillas and Crim and Zuma and Crim saying, is that the right approach, is that the wrong approach? But now Crim is saying that actually, despite the fact that at the time these players might not take that on board so well, and they might resent Crimsix or whatever, and say, you know, this guy, you know, he's trying to be, he's too mean, like I can't team with this guy, whatever. Like maybe that's how Crim feels like a lot of the newer generation players act. Back in the day, like that was a pretty common tactic for I'm sure a lot of the IGLs, but Crim hasn't necessarily changed his ways over time, and that was rubbing people the wrong way and effectively getting to the point where a lot of the younger players didn't even want to team with Crim anymore, to which point he didn't really have the offers this season and was kind of forced to retire. But he's actually saying that despite the fact that these players felt like that at the time, in hindsight they believe that Crimsix was indeed trying to do the right thing and actually had all the right ideas. I mean, apparently Dashy has said, look, Crim, my bad. You were kind of right all along to a certain extent, like the way you were trying to push us and what you were trying to ask me to do, XYZ. Like, you know, you were right, it was my mistake, whatever. And apparently even TJHaLy kind of said a similar thing. So interesting to hear. Of course, maybe understandable these players might say that type of stuff after Crim has retired, but it's interesting to think about, right, that Crim's leadership style maybe kind of, well, in the moment doesn't work so well with certain players, but actually in hindsight, a lot of those players realize that actually that time team with Crim was one of the biggest learning experiences that I actually would have had, and if I'd have listened to Crim a bit more, maybe things would have gone even better, right? So who knows? But I thought, and of course, look, Crim's going to give his own perspective here. I'm sure that, you know, Dashy and TJ might have their own thoughts on the matter, but definitely intrigued your perspective on that in the comment section below, because it was kind of the big thing that forced Crimsix into retirement in one sense, but he actually reckons that he didn't really burn bridges nearly as much as people actually think he did, especially in hindsight from some of those players. So interesting discussion for sure. Just wanted to mention this as well from COD Stats for Brian Sats. The 8 most stacked teams that placed top 16 or worse, one of which, of course, that OpTic team back in World War II. No Dashy here, but of course, Scump, Crim, Octane. I mean, what a like crazy team that actually was to have to have formed. But again, that was World War II. We actually talked about that right yesterday, where we discussed the kind of the Halo World Championship format, where this team came top 24 despite losing just one series to the eventual world champions that year. Rise Nation were also top 16 in that season. Gen G were top 32 back in Black Ops 4. FaZe, I think, were top 16, of course, after getting that ultra reverse swept by 100 Thieves in that losers bracket. OpTic Nation in Advanced Warfare, TK, FaZe Black, and then also Straight Rippin', which is kind of an interesting pick because like they were never really favorites or anything, but I mean, they did have a pretty stacked team on paper. Study, Ricky, Dashy, and Tent was a pretty stacked team going into Infinite Warfare, but that's pretty much one of Dashy's first ever events from a competitive perspective. Just a quick reminder of the teams for the off-season Black Ops 2 25k coming up very soon indeed. Just in a few days' time, I believe next weekends, this is all kicking off. These are the teams. This one with Embo's Killer, Clay, and Methods, like that is going to be common. I mean, all these teams are good fun, but I'm looking forward to this regardless. The first graphic I believe I've seen with all the teams, so I thought I'd just bring this up for you guys regardless. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tells the YouTube God this is a good video, and as like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thanks as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.